Welcome to Max Premieres. If you are looking for the best movies arriving this May 2026, you have come to the right place. Today we break down 13 must-see releases ranging from horror and pure action to smart comedies and historical dramas that will blow you away. There is something for every taste: superhero cinema, epic adventures, spy thrillers, and so much more. But before we get started, it would mean the world to me if you could take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for your support. Number 13. Masters of the Universe. Separated from Eternia for 15 years, Prince Adam discovers his home world has been shattered under Skeletor's tyranny. Guided by the Sword of Power, he must embrace his destiny as He-Man and rally allies like Teela and Man-at-Arms to restore balance. With a $200 million budget, this adaptation promises an epic fantasy adventure that evokes the best the genre has to offer. Nicholas Galitzine takes on the role of Adam, bringing youth and charisma to the character, while Jared Leto transforms Skeletor into a truly terrifying threat. The production scale rivals major Hollywood franchises, and early previews reveal a world design that honors the essence of the 80s toys and animated series. The gamble is a real one. Previous attempts to bring He-Man to the big screen have fallen short, but the creative team seems to have found the right balance between nostalgia and modern storytelling. If the execution matches the visual ambition, we could be witnessing the start of a new franchise that bridges generations. Number 12. Pressure. In the 72 hours before D-Day, the fate of the most important invasion of World War II rests on the shoulders of a meteorologist. James Stagg, Britain's chief weather forecaster, must predict the conditions that will determine whether the operation launches or gets postponed. Haunted by a disastrous rehearsal and pressured by Allied commanders, Stagg and his aide Kay Summersby face an impossible dilemma as Eisenhower weighs every option. The film transforms a little-known historical moment into a thriller of unbearable tension, where one wrong prediction could have changed the course of history. The intimate focus on the people behind the great military decisions gives the movie a human dimension that conventional war films often overlook. The direction relies on realism and restraint, letting the urgency of the situation generate tension without the need for explosions. At 100 minutes, the film wastes no time and maintains a pace that grips viewers from the very first frame to the final decision that changed the world forever. Number 11. Backrooms. A doorway in a furniture store becomes a portal to an infinite, decaying labyrinth of yellow rooms. When a therapist searches for a missing patient, she is pulled into the impossible architecture of the backrooms, where the rules of reality stop working and survival depends on decoding the hidden logic of the space. Born as a viral internet phenomenon, the Backrooms concept has captured the imagination of millions, and now Kane Parsons, the creator of the original videos that popularized the legend, makes his feature film directorial debut. The premise generates a unique sense of claustrophobia. There are no visible monsters at first, just endless hallways, flickering fluorescent lights, and the crushing sensation of being trapped in a place that should not exist. The film promises to bring liminal horror to the big screen with a visual ambition that homemade YouTube videos could only hint at. The challenge lies in whether the tension of those empty spaces can sustain itself across nearly 2 hours without becoming repetitive. But the premise is so original that it deserves the benefit of the doubt. Number 10. Passenger. During a van life road trip across the United States, Tyler and Maddie witness a horrific highway accident. What they do not realize is that they did not leave the crash scene alone. A demonic presence known as the Passenger follows them relentlessly, impossible to outrun or outwit. Directed by Andre Overdal, the filmmaker behind Trollhunter and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the movie fuses folk horror with psychological dread in a setting that turns the freedom of the open road into a deadly trap. The premise recalls It Follows for its unstoppable threat and The Conjuring for its supernatural terror, but the van life setting gives it a contemporary twist that connects with a whole generation. At 94 minutes, the film has no room for filler, which should keep the tension consistently high throughout. Horror works best when the danger is simple and inevitable, and the idea of something relentlessly pursuing you down the empty highways of the American night is genuinely unsettling. Number 9. Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu. Following the fall of the Empire, Din Djarin and Grogu are recruited by the New Republic for a mission that will test their loyalty and their destiny. Pedro Pascal returns as the most beloved Mandalorian bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe, and Sigourney Weaver joins the cast, bringing a presence that elevates any production. Jon Favreau, creator of the original series, directs this transition from small screen to cinema with a budget that allows operatic-scale action sequences combined with the intimate character drama that made the show a phenomenon. The film marks Star Wars' first return to theaters since 2019, and expectations are enormous. At 132 minutes, there is plenty of room to develop both the epic adventure and the adoptive father-son relationship that defines these characters. The risk lies in whether a story that worked perfectly in episodic format can maintain its magic in a more compressed cinematic structure, but the combination of Favreau and Dave Filoni inspires confidence. Number 8. Ladies First. Damian Sachs is a chauvinistic ad executive who wakes up in a matriarchal society where women hold all the power. Forced to confront a female version of himself, he must navigate reversed social codes, corporate rivalries, and romantic revelations that challenge everything he thought he knew about privilege and power. The premise echoes the French film I Am Not an Easy Man, but Netflix expands the concept with its own style and humor. Gender reversal satire can work brilliantly when executed with intelligence, and the film seems to bet on the balance between absurd comedy and sharp social commentary. At 90 minutes, the runtime is just right for this type of story that needs to keep its pace without exhausting the premise. The challenge is avoiding obvious, surface-level humor and instead crafting situations that truly make the viewer reflect while laughing. If the writing rises to the occasion, this could become one of those comedies that sparks conversation long after the credits roll. Number 7. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, Ghost War. Jack Ryan is pulled back into the world of espionage when an international covert mission unravels a deadly conspiracy, forcing him to confront a rogue Black Ops unit. With the clock ticking and lives on the line, Ryan reunites with CIA veteran James Greer and Agent Mike November to untangle a web of betrayals threatening global stability. John Krasinski steps back into the shoes of the analyst-turned-action hero, this time joined by Sienna Miller as a sharp MI6 officer who brings a fresh dynamic to the team. Andrew Bernstein directs this film that serves as a natural continuation of the hit Prime Video series, raising the stakes to a cinematic level. The real-time premise adds an urgency that keeps tension constant across the 105-minute runtime. For franchise fans, this is the most personal and dangerous mission Ryan has ever faced, and early impressions suggest the action and espionage are perfectly balanced with moments of interpersonal tension. Number 6. In the Gray. A covert team of elite operatives lives in the global shadows, as comfortable wielding power and influence as they are handling automatic weapons and high explosives. When a ruthless despot steals $1 billion fortune, the team is sent to recover it on what would be a suicide mission for anyone else. Jake Gyllenhaal as Bronco and Henry Cavill as Sid lead the operation, facing betrayal, shifting alliances, and lethal combat. Guy Ritchie directs with his unmistakable style. Sharp dialogue, rapid editing, and an energy that never lets up. The chemistry between Gyllenhaal and Cavill promises to be the engine of the film, combining the former's easygoing charisma with the latter's controlled intensity. Eiza Gonzalez and Rosamund Pike round out a top-tier cast. At 98 minutes, the film is lean and efficient, with no time for unnecessary subplots. This is the kind of action Cinema Ritchie does better than anyone. Stylish, entertaining, and with enough personality to stand apart in a market saturated with generic thrillers. Number 5. Obsession. Bear is a shy music store employee who breaks a cursed novelty item called the One Wish Willow to make his childhood friend Nikki fall in love with him. The wish comes true, but the devotion he receives is obsessive and comes with horrific consequences that force him to confront the monstrous cost of desire. The film blends folk horror motifs with dark comedy and body horror in unexpected ways, creating an experience that feels fresh within a genre that often recycles the same formulas. The premise of A Wish Gone Wrong is nothing new, but the execution seems to bet on a visceral approach that recalls Get Out for its social discomfort and Black Mirror for its twisted moral. At 108 minutes, there is enough room to develop both the horror and the emotional layers of the protagonist. If it manages to balance scares with reflection on toxic relationships and consent, it could become one of the year's surprises in independent horror cinema. Number 4. Mortal Kombat 2. Earthrealm's champions face their greatest challenge when Shao Kahn rises to claim absolute power over all realms. Johnny Cage, played by Karl Urban, joins Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Jax, and Scorpion in battles that test the loyalty, strength, and destiny of every warrior. This direct sequel to the 2021 film corrects course by delivering what fans demanded: the real Mortal Kombat tournament in all its brutal glory. Simon McQuoid returns as director with a bigger budget and the promise of fatalities that honor the signature violence of the video games. Karl Urban's casting as Johnny Cage is a perfect choice. His sarcastic charisma and physical presence fit the character like a glove. The film also introduces Katana and Jade, expanding the roster with characters gamers have waited decades to see in live action. With a third movie already in development, this installment needs to prove the franchise has the narrative and visual muscle to compete with the biggest names in action cinema. Number 3. The Sheep Detectives. Every night, Shepherd George Hardy reads detective novels to his sheep, convinced they cannot understand a single word. But when George is found dead under mysterious circumstances, his flock proves they learned far more than anyone imagined. Determined to solve the crime, the sheep investigate the village's human suspects, uncovering secrets nobody wanted brought to light. Hugh Jackman plays the shepherd in a performance that blends warmth and mystery, while Bryan Cranston and Julia Louis-Dreyfus voice the most memorable sheep in recent cinema. Based on Leonie Swan's novel, director Kyle Balda's film mixes the charm of Babe with the intrigue of Knives Out in a way that works for both children and adults. With a 90% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, early reactions confirm that the combination of humor, heart, and genuine mystery is irresistible. Emma Thompson and Nicholas Braun round out a cast that elevates every scene with impeccable comic timing and moments of genuine emotion that are surprisingly moving for a movie starring talking sheep. Number 2. Hokum. Novelist Owen Bauman travels to a remote Irish inn to scatter his parents' ashes, unaware that the property is haunted by an ancient witch. Disturbing visions, chilling folklore, and a shocking disappearance force him to confront the darkest corners of his past. Adam Scott, best known for Severance, delivers his most unsettling performance to date, playing a complex protagonist who is not always likable, which adds layers of tension to every scene. Damian McCarthy, the director of Oddity, cements his reputation as one of the most important names in contemporary horror, with a film that has earned a 97% approval on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics describe it as pure nightmare fuel, and early audiences confirm that the images of the witch and the underworld are genuinely terrifying without relying on excessive digital effects. McCarthy builds horror through atmosphere, sound, and visual suggestion, proving that the most effective fear is the kind you feel before you even see the threat. If you want horror with substance and a protagonist who keeps you hooked even when you can't stand him, this is the movie of the month without question. Number 1. Deep Water. A flight from Los Angeles to Shanghai crashes in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, leaving a diverse group of survivors stranded in shark-infested waters. Forced to cooperate despite cultural and personal differences, they must endure terror, dwindling hope, and relentless predators as they fight to stay alive. Directed by Rennie Harlin, the filmmaker behind Deep Blue Sea, the movie combines disaster spectacle with psychological tension in a setting where every second could be the last. Aaron Eckhart and Ben Kingsley lead an international cast, bringing dramatic weight to a story that elevates the aquatic survival genre. The dual premise of plane crash plus sharks creates a pure adrenaline cocktail that does not let up from the very first minute. At 110 minutes, the film has room to develop the relationships between survivors without sacrificing the frantic pace of the marine terror. What sets it apart from other shark movies is its ambition to explore human dynamics under extreme pressure, turning every character decision into a life or death matter that keeps the viewer on the edge of their seat throughout. And that wraps up our tour of the 13 most anticipated movies of May 2026. From sharks in the Pacific to witches in Ireland, From Mortal Tournaments to Detective Sheep, this month has something for every movie lover out there. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. Tell me in the comments which movie excites you the most and which one you plan to watch first when it premieres. See you in the next video with more releases and more content you are going to love. Until next time.